Most businesses don't really need to see more conversions in their Google Ads dashboards, but they do need to see more real people, real leads behind those numbers. And in 2026, this is even more important than ever because Google is getting really good at generating conversions, but conversions don't necessarily translate into actual leads unless you know what you're doing. And we see this all the time when auditing potential clients' accounts. They would come to us and say, hey, we're getting a lot of conversions in our dashboards, but not actual leads. In this video, I'm going to show you how to generate high quality leads for your business that actually convert into paying clients, and what are some common problems you want to avoid. We've managed Google Ads for more than 500 clients. Local service, B2B, e-commerce, SaaS, you name it. So what you'll see are patterns from real accounts that we manage on a daily basis. Here's a typical situation. On one end, you have things that look really well. Cost per conversion is low. You have high number of conversions. You even have phone calls coming in. However, on the other hand, we have a frustrated business owner who basically tells us, hey, I'm getting all these missed calls and nobody's replying. I'm getting inquiries, but nobody's replying back. So it's just burdening my sales team and I'm not getting any real leads coming in. If this is your situation, then you might want to check one of the following things in your Google Ads account. So if you're using search campaigns, check search partners and check display expansion settings. If you're using those, that may be a problem. If you're using performance max campaigns, then you definitely want to check channel report and see where the traffic is coming from and what's the portion of that traffic that's coming from display, what's the portion of that traffic that's coming from discovery. If you're using display campaigns and you're getting a lot of conversions from display campaigns, then you might want to check placement reports and where your actual traffic is coming from and what's the percentage of that that's coming from different applications. Those three places that I've just mentioned are some of the most typical sources of bad quality traffic. You're getting a lot of bot traffic, you're getting a lot of spam traffic, and if that's your situation, then you definitely want to check with whoever is managing the account to ensure that those settings are disabled and then to see what actually happens and does it make a difference. Second problem we see in a lot of cases is simply not understanding the business properly, not connecting the business and the Google Ads account. And here's what I mean by that. Let me give you an example that illustrates this really nicely. So last year, we got a client that was a manufacturing business taking online orders, but at the same time picking up the phone and generating leads online. So the purpose of their business is to sell online directly through their e-commerce website, but also to get leads and generate leads for their larger custom-made orders. After talking to that client, after our introduction call and before we did an audit, I asked him, well, how are you actually getting your sales? And he told me, well, most of my sales are coming through phone calls. Those are my best customers. They come through phone calls, we make a deal online, and then transaction is being made offline. And then I asked, well, what about the online orders that you're getting in? He's like, well, yes, they're fine, but those are typically smaller ones. What happened is when I looked into the account is he was only optimizing for online sales and phone calls were ignored completely. And obviously that causes a major problem because there's no connection between how business actually operates and Google Ads account. And that part of his business generates highest quality conversions was completely neglected. After we implemented custom conversion tracking that includes both tracking phone calls and tracking online orders and combining this in a very specific way, his total revenue increased because we started generating more of those high quality leads that were actually phone leads that were making large $10,000 and $20,000 orders. So the key takeaway here is you need to make sure that your business is connected to Google Ads. All important aspects of your lead generation are translated somehow into your Google Ads account. The third problem is the tracking. A lot of accounts simply track way too many things, and not only that, but they also treat those different conversion actions equally. So as an example, we would see accounts where they track form submissions and then page views and then phone calls and even online orders and a lot of other actions, you name it. But the problem is treating all those equally and not really putting different weight and different value to each of these, because not all conversion actions are the same. A page view is not as valuable as a phone call. A phone call that lasts 30 seconds is not as valuable as a phone call that lasts 2 minutes. You see where I'm aiming with this? Google is really good at generating conversions. Keep that in mind as a general rule. But Google will always take the path of least resistance. It will take the path of what's easiest for them. And they won't really care what kind of conversions are they giving you as long as you're getting conversions. And why is that? Well, because your settings specifically allowed Google to do so. When you have many different conversion actions that you're tracking and you're treating them all equally, you're basically telling Google, I don't care, just give me any of these. And Google does exactly that. But it is oftentimes going to give you the least valuable ones. What you want to do in situations like this is to put different value to each of these and to make sure that you're tracking only those that bring the highest quality leads. As an example, if you're tracking phone calls, make sure to gradually increase the duration of a phone call to qualify as a conversion action. If you have forms on your website that you're tracking, you want to ensure that those forms are not too easy, that it's not like, hey, name an email. That's an easy form. You want to make your forms longer and more detailed, and that will increase the value of that conversion action. Finally, when it comes to conversion tracking, you want to make sure that you're not double tracking, that everything is firing properly, and that way you'll be providing correct signals to Google so that it can optimize not towards any conversions, but towards highest quality conversions for your business. Another problem we see very frequently is that campaigns are not built around buyer intent. The best way to really illustrate this is by giving an example that we see all the time with our physical therapy clients. So they would come to us and we would do an audit, and oftentimes we would see keywords like neck pain and back pain and exercises for neck pain or back pain or for knees or for, typical physical therapy issues. And in their mind, it was like, hey, if somebody's having these problems, they do need a physical therapist. And in a way, they're right. But also, just because somebody's looking for neck pain and back pain exercises, just because they're looking for stretching exercises to relieve pain, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're looking for a physical therapist. And this is the key difference between buying intent and information seeking intent. What you want to have in your account are keywords and traffic where there's a clear buying intent, not information seeking. Some people who seek information may become buyers, but probably they're just looking around. On the other hand, people who are actively looking for a solution are the ones that you want to bring to your website. So as a takeaway, you might want to ask yourself, are the keywords I have in my account, are the actual search terms I have in my account reflecting people who are looking for a solution and not information? And if majority are looking for a solution, you're in a good position. If not, you might be having an issue with the relevancy of your traffic. Next problem we have on the list is the landing page. And this one is tricky because landing page at the same time needs to qualify visitors, needs to convert visitors, but at the same time also discourage those that are not qualified. On one hand, you want to have those standard conversion rate optimization techniques implemented. You want to have features, benefits, and calls to action, and you want to have nice design, and you want to have different ways of contacting you, and everything else that falls into a typical landing page conversion rate optimization checklist for a lead gen business. And you've probably seen those, and you probably know what they are. On the other hand, if you want to increase the lead quality, you need to have disqualifiers. And the best way to explain disqualifiers is by providing an example. Like, healthcare practitioner might not accept all insurances, and they might be getting inquiries from people with the lowest income insurance. On the other hand, we might have an example of a contractor that only does projects of certain size, and there's a minimum. We might also have different conditions like working in certain areas, working within certain conditions, and simply having restrictions around who you work with and who are your ideal customers. And for each business, this is different, but what you want to do is start collecting the data and start grouping those unqualified leads into different categories so that you can address those on the landing page itself and simply disqualify them. And I know you already paid for that traffic. However, if you're letting those leads come through, if you're letting them call you, if you're letting them submit the forms, and if you're not disqualifying them, then you're doing your sales team a disservice because they'll be contacting with people who are simply not qualified. Once again, the best example of that is a healthcare practice that doesn't work with all insurances. In a more extreme case, a healthcare practice that only does cash. That's the best example. At the same time, you want to qualify but also disqualify people who are simply not a good fit for your business in whatever criteria. So another problem is the lack of feedback loop between the business and the Google Ads account. And this is probably the biggest one. Here's why. If you're just optimizing for conversions inside your Google Ads account, you're missing out on everything else that comes after the conversion. And those actions are the ones that really matter for your business. So let's examine what happens after that. You're not taking into account lead quality. How many conversions do you need to actually make a sale? And then what's the average order value of each sale? And then ultimately, what's the lifetime value of each customer? So you're just optimizing for the front of the funnel, for getting more form submissions and more leads. And all of those things are not taken into account. So how do you do that? How do you take them into account and how do you optimize? Well, in a very simplified manner by implementing additional tracking. You want to have either a CRM in your backend or a simple Google spreadsheet where you'll simply add the data on a regular basis, where you'll mark leads as good, bad, very good, and so on, where you'll have details on anything that's additional, like, hey, did we make any additional sales? Did we get any referrals from this guy? Is this something that turned into a major sale and a major client? And once you start accumulating those data, then over time, maybe over a couple of months or maybe over like 6 months or even a year, you'll have enough data to say, oh, okay, now we actually want to move in this direction. And this is the campaign that's actually giving us the highest lifetime customer value in terms of leads and not the ones we initially thought it was just based on the initial Google Ads data. And also, it's important to notice that this is a process that's partially done online in your Google Ads account, but also mostly offline. Like if you're collecting data over 1 year, you won't be able to import those conversions because Google is simply not allowing that. The conversion window is only 90 days. So you'll be operating in a bit vague parameters based on what you have in your CRM, based on what you have in your Google Ads account. But if you keep good track of those, you'll be in good shape and you'll be able to optimize for the best quality leads for your business. Before we move to the second mistake, if you want to see more practical videos on how to manage your Google Ads account and how to get the most out of it, make sure to subscribe to our channel. So, as a final takeaway from this video, start from the lowest hanging fruit, and that is cleaning up your traffic. Make sure low quality spam type of traffic is eliminated. Then after that, make sure the type of traffic you're getting has high buying intent. Then move to setting up your conversion tracking properly. So those are the basics. After that, it really comes down to understanding the business, connecting the business with the marketing, implementing tracking that goes beyond a simple conversion, and collecting the data over longer periods. That will, over time, give you the highest return on investment from your Google Ads account. I hope that you can take what you learned in this video, implement yourself, and start seeing some results in your Google Ads account right away. On the other hand, if you'd like to get some professional assistance with this, feel free to reach out through the link in the description below. Here at No Hassle Digital, we help established businesses get the most out of their Google Ads accounts. More sales, better quality leads, and better use of their budget overall. And if you're not ready for that yet, go ahead and watch the next video, the new way to advertise on Google Ads. It will show you how to think about Google Ads differently and get better results overall and not just more conversion in your dashboard. Thank you.